because what he saw didn't match the sentence he had just carried out, and for a moment, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon could not trust his own eyes. The flames were still raging, just as intense, just as destructive, moving with the same force that had already taken the lives of the soldiers who carried out his command. Nothing about the fire had changed, and yet everything inside it had. He expected to see bodies, or at the very least, the final moments of men overwhelmed by heat and smoke. Instead, he saw movement. Not frantic, not desperate, but steady, controlled, almost deliberate, and as he focused, trying to make sense of what stood before him, the number no longer added up. 3 had been thrown in. That much everyone knew. But now, there were 4 figures walking inside the flames, and none of them were struggling. The room shifted from confidence to confusion in seconds. Those standing around the king leaned in, unsure whether to speak or remain silent, because what they were witnessing didn't fit any explanation they had. The fire was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. It was consuming everything it touched. And yet, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not being consumed. They weren't even reacting to it. Their movements were calm, almost as if the fire had no authority over them at all. And then there was the 4th figure. Not bound, not panicked, not even trying to escape. Just present. Walking among them, as if it belonged there, as if the fire itself answered to it. King Nebuchadnezzar stepped closer, close enough to feel the heat pressing against him, reminding him that the fire was still very real, still dangerous, still deadly to anyone who entered it under normal circumstances. And yet, what he was seeing forced him to confront a possibility he had never considered before, that there might be a limit to his authority, that there might be something beyond his reach. He had given an order that could not be questioned. He had enforced it with a punishment no one could survive. And yet here stood the same 3 men who had refused to bow earlier, now alive inside the flames, untouched in a way that made no sense. His voice, when he finally spoke, carried something unfamiliar. Not anger, not command, but urgency. He called out to them, not as condemned men, but by name. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. The same men who had stood before him earlier, refusing to bow, now standing in the center of a fire that should have ended them. He told them to come out, to step forward, to leave the flames behind. And they did. Not running, not stumbling, just walking. The same way they had stood earlier, steady and composed, as if the outcome had never been in doubt. As they crossed the edge of the furnace, the crowd instinctively stepped back, unsure of what they were about to see. Burned skin, damaged clothing, signs of what they had just endured. But none of it was there. No marks, no injuries, not even the smell that always lingers after fire. It was as if the flames had made a decision not to touch them. People moved closer, cautiously at first, examining what they could not explain. Officials who had once been eager to report them now stood silent, their earlier confidence replaced with uncertainty. Because this was no longer about disobedience, it was about something far more difficult to dismiss. Something that had just happened in front of everyone, leaving no room for doubt, yet offering no easy explanation. King Nebuchadnezzar looked at them differently now. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood in the same place, but everything about the situation had changed. The authority he once held over them no longer felt absolute. Not after what he had just witnessed. Because if they could walk through that and come out untouched, then whatever they trusted in carried a kind of power he had not accounted for. And then his attention shifted back to the fire. The flames were still there, still moving, still dangerous. But the 4th figure was gone. No trace, no explanation, just absence. And somehow, that raised even more questions than its presence. Because it hadn't left in the way people normally leave. There was no moment anyone could point to and say, that's when it disappeared. It was simply there, and then it wasn't. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy with realization. The kind that settles slowly, forcing everyone to reconsider what they thought they understood about control, power, and consequence. Because the furnace had done its job, it had proven its strength. But it had also revealed its limit. And for the first time, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon faced something he could not command, could not threaten, and could not explain away.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share this with someone who needs to see it and hit subscribe so you never miss more videos like this.